If your team had to describe you, what would they say? If they had to describe you in one word, what would that word be? One thing that I do as a performance and an executive coach is to help the executive, the business owner, the managing director, whoever that might be, to define themselves as a leader. You know, leadership is such a convoluted and heavily studied and academically researched topic. But at the root of it are people. You've got all of the styles and methodologies and theories behind leadership. But the vast majority of people who start their own business don't start it to become a leader. A leader is something that happens as you start to grow your business, as you start to experience success, as you start to develop and grow a team and, you know, gain more and more customers. It's not like you go into business. I don't think anybody's ever said, I'm going to be a business leader. I'm going to start my business not because I love what I do and I'm a technician and an expert in what I do, but actually because I want to be a leader. I don't think anybody's ever said that in the history of leadership. People go into careers to pursue leadership. They join organizations that has a very prescribed leadership structure. You know, I came from the military and, you know, joined as I lovingly refer to us. If any of you know Sharp's rifle, was enlisted filth back in 1985, a humble private soldier, and then progressed all the way up through the ranks, past regimental sergeant major to get commissioned and be a captain. And all of the while I was educated and trained and put into situations where my mettle was tested, and as a result where my leadership was tested, and I learned from other leaders. But business can be a lonely place. Being at the boardroom table can be a lonely place. Because if you think about it for the moment, a lot of people that join the board, when they first join that, whether it's an operations board, a board of directors or a C-suite, whatever that might look like, most people's journey at that level starts by being invited from a department head position where they were good at what they did, and suddenly they find themselves at a strategic level where leadership's needed. But no one ever really teaches you about the leadership or holds the mirror up. And that is the role and responsibility. And why good leaders are good leaders is because more often than not, they have had external influence. Now, I'm not suggesting that's necessarily a performance coach or an executive coach. It might be a mentor. It could be somebody else around the table. It could be the CEO. Could be a multiple of things. Could be that they just developed because they really invested in themselves and read an awful lot of books. And trust me, I've read a lot of books, and they're out there to help you become a better leader and to design the leader that you want to be. So when you think about that in terms of, you know, what do my team think of me as a leader? And here's a question I used to contemplate when I was in the military. But what do my team think of me as a leader? And then how do I develop beyond that? How do I create my legacy going forward in terms of what it is that I want to develop as a leader to leave behind? Because here's an interesting element of leadership, and it's the role of leaders. Because when I ask this question, I get thrown lots of different answers: inspire, drive, motivate, and all of those things are right. But when I think about leadership and what the role of a leader is, in the very simplest term, a leader's role is to grow and develop more leaders. What are your people saying about you as a leader? Go ask them. Have a great day.